Hello, everybody. Welcome back to State of Independence. I'm your host, Tucker Berger. I hope everybody's had a good week. Now, last week in our inaugural episode, we talked about what the title State of Independence means to me. It's a state of mind. It's being a free thinker. It's not letting the party machine tell you how to vote and what to do. And it's also the state of Tennessee, I believe, is the perfect model to be that independent state, to be that state that's not ruled by a party, that has a constituency of open minded, free thinking people that govern their state accordingly. So that's what we talked about last week. And welcome back. And tonight we are going to discuss a few things. I have some headlines to talk about. First off, Secretary Kennedy has actually banned the mercury vaccines, which is the preservative they were using in the vaccines to keep them stable for a long period of time. They had a mercury base inside of them to keep them stable for their shelf life. Now, it's been like this for a long time, and he's been preaching about it for years and years. And people have called him a nut job for the whole anti-vax thing and said that thinks he wants to take all the vaccinations away and just don't want you to vaccinate your kids. And he has said some kind of extreme things in the past, but and you have your opinion to feel however you want about Secretary Kennedy. But I think we can all agree that taking away a dangerous chemical like mercury from a vaccine that's mandated to children and adults to do all kinds of things like join the military, to go to public school, different things like that, and this mercury base in these vaccines have been shown to cause many things. And this has been done by third party studies and very big name scientists doing some of these other studies that they've been linked to miscarriages. For example, a lot of women that received the flu shot were 7.7 times more likely to have a miscarriage because of this mercury. And it also caused a lot of other smaller things and even up to mental and physical retardation in some children. And they said that whenever you get this vaccine that has this mercury base inside of it, it metabolizes in your brain and becomes a toxic form of mercury. And it stays in your brain for a period of somewhere from 24 to 28 years. Uh, Somewhere like that. And I'm just very happy to see that they've taken that off the market and there is an alternative to use to keep the shelf life stable of vaccines that is not toxic, not carcinogenic. And, we've known for years that mercury was a bad chemical. I don't know why we kept it for this long. So I hope maybe this will instill a little bit of trust in Secretary Kennedy that he really is trying to do the good for everybody. He's trying to make America healthy again. And, he said for years that he was trying to get the mercury out of fish and nobody called him anti fish. So just remember that propaganda is always a key factor here. The big corporations like Big Pharma, they own stock in a lot of the media corporations, and they're going to push stories that they want to push and suppress ones that they don't. So just keep that in mind. And some good news actually is the Tennessee River Keepers cleaned up 2,000 pounds of trash from downtown Huntsville, Alabama. Now, I know that's not Tennessee, but it's part of the Tennessee River connected. Some of that actually could have floated down from Tennessee and ended up in Alabama. And that eventually leads into the Mississippi River. But that is just really good news to see that there's some volunteers getting out there cleaning 2,000 pounds of trash out of a downtown area and making it more beautiful again. That's people just really taking stewardship of where they live, and just appreciating their environment because it's their home, and we only get one of them. So you don't have to preach to everybody that they have to drive an electric car and put a windmill in their backyard, but I think we could all take a moment to clean up a piece of trash and kind of think about the nature around us and some of the animals that live there. And I think it'd do a little good for all of us because I believe part of being not just being an independent, scratch that, not just being an independent. I feel like whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent, we should all be able to get together and agree that we need clean water, clean air, and clean soil. Like, try to give me a good reason why we shouldn't have any of those things. And you're not going to find one because there's not one. We should have clean water, clean air, clean soil, period. And all parties should agree on that. So that's just really good news to hear. So, and then I just wanted to say shout out to my employer, H&M Roofing and Metal Crafters. Like I had said before, I'm a blue collar worker, and if you would like to support me in my trade and our company, then find us online, H&M Metal Crafters. You can also find us on Instagram, H&M Metal Crafters, and see some of the beautiful work we've done. And if you need any roofing or metal needs across the Tennessee area or across the entire Southeast that we service, please reach out to us, and we do great work. Thanks. Now, moving on. Yeah, this was an interesting headline that I saw earlier. Okay, Trump puts a 25% tariff on India. And this is because India has been buying oil from Russia. Because I've been doing a little bit of research into this, and since the sanctions have started a few years ago with the whole Ukraine war, Russia has invested in building a rail system that goes south through Iran, Pakistan, and into India so they can sell their oil easier and transport it easier without worrying about sea blockades. Now, from their end, that makes a lot of sense. It's a reasonable investment. Now, what Biden had tried to do and what Trump is now trying to do is put economic pressure and sanction pressure on Russia and other countries because of the Ukraine war. And what I don't like about that is they're messing with economics of the world, messing with our prices, our economics, because they're trying to push a foreign policy agenda. So, more or less, because India is not 100% backing our whole effort for the Ukraine war, he is now putting a 25% tariff on India. And that's going to affect some of the things that we buy. So if you see some prices of things go up, of services or goods that we get from India, it's because Trump is trying to pressure India to support the Ukraine war. And I don't even agree with that war in the first place. And I sure as hell don't like the idea that our economics could be messed up just because someone's being coerced for foreign policy. Tariffs and economics and trade deals aren't supposed to really have anything to do with foreign policy. That affects our everyday lives, that affects our costs, our goods, all of that. So I just don't really like that behavior. He said he was going to stop the Ukraine war on day one. Now, we all knew that was an exaggeration, that would be really hard to do, but he's kind of acting like Biden at this point with this move, because that's something Biden would have done 2 years ago whenever he started putting all these sanctions on Russia and trying to punish people for doing deals with Russia. It's Trump's fallen back into the same place, and I think it's because some of the same neocons are speaking into his ear. Not the ones that we see on camera, but the ones that speak through other people to speak to people like Biden and Trump. Yeah, it's a mess. Now, Trump also talks cutting disaster relief and aid funding to any state or business that boycotts doing any kind of business with the state of Israel. Now, that's another strange one that I don't really understand. Okay, if you want to support Israel, that's fine. I mean, Israel is supposed to be a big ally of ours. But if some people feel that they don't agree with the ethics or the morals of the state of Israel and they do not want to do business with the state of Israel, then I feel like they should have the right to turn down their business and services. Now, Trump is trying to coerce a support out of anybody who wants to boycott because he's saying that he will block aid and disaster relief funds. So Tennessee experienced last year Hurricane Helene, and that was a really bad disaster for a lot of people in East Tennessee and North Carolina and a lot of the affected areas. And we didn't see as quick of a response as we probably would have liked to. And FEMA and the government was only offering people $750 relief checks. And that's almost an insult. There were people stranded for days. There was scattered and disorganized efforts to try to rescue people, and that was just horrible to watch last year. And to think that Trump would say that he's going to cut any kind of aid and relief to people that want to boycott Israel, it's just a weird move, man. Because okay, remember when the guy that was a baker decided that he didn't want to bake the cake for the gay couple that was getting married because he didn't agree with the morals and the ethics of what they were doing. So he said that he shouldn't have to bake their cake and he should be able to turn down their business. Now, I can kind of understand the argument of saying, yeah, they turn them down because the basis of their sexual orientation. And you could also say, like back in the civil rights movement, that they would turn down black people from entering a business because of the color of their skin, because of their race. Now, that is kind of the angle that Trump is trying to push at, saying it's something like that. But it's not the same thing because, okay, you should have the right to be able to turn down business to somebody that you ethically don't agree with if it's not based on sex, race, religious beliefs. And that's the key thing. Religious belief is, they say that it's anti-Semitic, but it's not. See, the state of Israel is a government. It is a government that is, ran by elected officials who happen to be Jewish, and the land happens to be the land in the Holy Bible called Israel. But that does not necessarily mean that not wanting to do business with that government is anti-Semitic. But my heart goes out to any Israeli people that are going through it right now, any Jewish Americans, any Jewish Tennesseans. That has nothing to do with being anti-Semitic. But if you want to take a political stance and say that you don't want to do business with somebody, that should be your right to do so, and you shouldn't be threatened or coerced in trying to do the opposite, because I feel like that is just suppressing some of your free speech, whatever free speech you have left. Now, an interesting lead in to the whole Israel thing is it's been in the headlines lately just how much influence and control Israel kind of has in our government. And I never realized it until this past year, honestly. Like, I mean, I've tried to stay on top of politics most of my life, tried to stay pretty informed, watch the news. That was a big flaw in my plan right there, was watch the news. They're really not the good source of information there. But APAC, American Israeli Political Action Committee, they donate a lot of money every election cycle. They actually donate more than any other foreign entity. Very, very large donor. Now, if you're wondering, which representatives in Tennessee received money from Israel last election, we have Marsha Blackburn. She received $345,000 from Israel last election. APAC, to be specific. And then Tim Burchett. I like Tim Burchett. He's a pretty straight shooter, but we got to know where your money's coming from. He made $17,636 from APAC for his election. Chuck Flashman, my representative here in Chattanooga, got $5,000 from AIPAC for his election. Desjardins got $2,100. John Rose got $7,500. Mark Green, the representative that retired early, and there's going to be a special election to replace his seat coming up in District 7, he received $75,000 from AIPAC for his last election. So that's a really strange one. He received a lot of money for that re-election and then came in, voted for 1 year, and retired early to go take a job in the private sector. I just thought that was a little odd. And then David Kustoff received $44,600 from AIPAC. So that is where a lot of your foreign funding to Tennessee representatives are going. That's what I could find just in a quick Google search. That's not hidden information. So you probably wonder, why does our government every time vote to support all of this crazy military stuff in another country, like Ukraine, like Israel, like Iraq, like Afghanistan, like all the continuous wars that just keep going on? It's because people donate money to these politicians to get favors, to get votes out of them, to get certain results out of them that they want. And the war machine is a very big profitable thing. Also, it's cheaper for Israel to pay politicians for their election than it is to actually buy all of the military things that we give them. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't support Israel's military. I mean, they're our ally. I understand we should give them things in defense. You know, I understand that there are some existential crises coming up, but at the same time, they're kind of stirring some of that pot a little bit themselves. And we shouldn't just give them a blank check every time they start an argument over in their territory. So there needs to be a little bit more diplomacy, and there needs to be a lot more transparency in our government and our representatives, because honestly, I don't think any foreign entities like Israel, or let's say China, or let's say Germany or Brazil or any other, foreign countries should be able to donate money to these politicians to get them reelected so they can therefore ask for favors, ask for votes. It shouldn't be like that. We need to wipe the slate clean. Now, that's a hard thing to do, too, because I've got a little info for you on some dirty money in politics. I've been doing a little bit of research on that, and basically the quick way to explain it is you have your private interest people, which can be anything from a foreign entity, a billionaire, a corporation that doesn't want to be named. And what they do is they take another shell corporation and a nonprofit. They give the money to them. The nonprofit or shell organization gives the money to a political action committee. That political action committee then gives the money to the person running for their campaign. Now, they're supposed to not have any contact. They're supposed to not speak to them, not ask them for any favors, any direct involvement with them. Between the PAC and the person running, where all the money is being funneled to. And, we're supposed to believe that the political action committees don't actually speak to these representatives or have any contact with them. Yeah, right. So that's where a lot of your dirty money in politics is. So, like, billionaires, foreign entities, corporations that don't want to be named can funnel almost unlimited amounts of money through this laundering shell that we call election funding. And by the time it goes through that many steps, it's hard to figure out where the money actually came from. So, yeah, it's stay informed. Whenever you go to vote for somebody, look up where some of their funding is coming from. Look up some of their political action committees. Look up some of the things behind them, because you need to know some of that stuff. Because if you kind of like a politician and you think he sounds good, but then you figure out that he has gotten a huge donation from an oil company, an energy company, a big pharmaceutical company, then you need to start asking questions. You need to start asking a lot of questions at that point. And speaking of big pharmaceutical companies, Marsha Blackburn last election received $316,000 from multiple big pharmaceutical companies and lobbyists. Now that's a lot of money in her last election to run for Senate again. Now, in her total career, she has actually received $1.38 million from Big Pharma in all of her elections. So that's probably why you're seeing some of the things in Tennessee, like you see with healthcare not being the best, and kind of I guess, the option of medical marijuana and recreational marijuana not really being on the table because big pharmaceutical companies don't really like that. It cuts off a lot of prescriptions and medications that people would be taking, and they'd have a natural alternative. But yeah, your politicians are being funded by sources that you probably don't like, not very good people. Now, moving on, there are a few bills that are coming up in 2026 that you all need to call your representatives about. Now, one of them is called the Homes Not Hedge Funds Act. Now, what this does is this limits private equity firms from being able to buy more than 100 single family homes in a county. Now, I've been preaching about this for a good minute because I've been so scared about all these corporations like BlackRock and other private equity groups going around and buying up homes, because I get offers all the time, get calls, get letters in the mail saying, we want to buy your home as is, don't do anything to it, we want it. And that's, yeah, of course they want it, because they want to buy up as many homes as possible. They want to turn them into rental homes, and they want to slowly squeeze the market out, because there will be a large amount of people that are keeping their homes that they own. Then there's the rising amount of rental homes that you can never buy because they're rental. And then you'll have a small amount of homes that are actually for sale left. And that's going to raise the price so high that just regular young people are never going to be able to afford it. That's a big fear of people my age, is that they will not be able to buy their own home and they're going to rent for the rest of their life. So if you care about people